Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast, and we have got ourselves one that I'm very excited for here, as it's going to be none other than Zozo taking on the random bot, this time playing Zerg. It's Xena. Now, a lot of people's favorite bots, just for being known for being the chaotic wrecking ball that it is. We did have Zozo, very notably, go for a probe scout right out the gate, as it was up against a random opponent. So you gotta see what race you're playing against before you can really formulate a plan. So that is something that, if you have dynamic builds in your bot, you do need to get that information. All right, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And then subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to stay tuned to the end, as we will have one of those little micro battles as well, as I think those are they're a fun way to round out a video. And yes, let's see here, as we do just have normal expo builds coming out of both of these bots. Xena playing Zerg, going for a third hatchery already, and then going for a drone scout as well. This is like one of the... This must have come in the meta before I was really in the bot scene, because it seems every top bot, almost, a lot of them anyway, they go for a drone scout just very close to their base. Oh, and so I assume that's probably from an era in which things like proxies were a lot more common back in the day, as you almost never see them find anything in this day and age, but it is something that a lot of bot authors have kept in their bot. Now, Xena going for a couple of queens, and then getting up that third hatch, lots of drones. Meanwhile, Zozo is going just for a Stargate out the gate, which is interesting. Makes me think that I haven't seen enough of Zozo's PVZ, as it does have that Stargate on the way, a Stalker being chrono boosted out, and then just the natural base happily mining away. One of the things that might not be so well known to everyone is that Xena is written by a couple of bot authors. However, one of them is Soupcatcher, who was also the author, I believe, of Zoe and Evil Zoe, which is probably one of the reasons why Xena's Zerg has very, very good macro, kind of built off that a little bit, I assume. Now, we do just have lots and lots of drones being squeezed out for the Zerg bot. Queens injecting to give as much larva as possible. And oh boy, here we go. It's going to be a Tempest rush from Zozo. This is something that is very common in these bot games, as the Protoss bot does seem to be moving out to take a third base, potentially. It goes to the third, and then it sends the probe to the fourth, interestingly enough. I've seen Zozo do this in the past, and I don't know why this is. I guess it's just checking for expansions. Something like that. Either that, or it's waiting till it has enough money to build an expansion, and that it might be a little bit of a bug. Because I'm wondering if it hits 400 minerals or something, if it will build like a nexus in the upper right, if that's where the probe is. Or it could just be checking for bases, who knows. Anyway, we do have a lair on the way for Xena, getting out more and more of these drones. Zozo's fleet beacon is done, however a Tempest just starts up, so not exactly the quickest Tempest in the world. It's not even being chrono boosted. That honor belongs to this gateway presently. Looks like that probe did meet its maker, as a fourth base goes up for Xena. There's lots of lings being produced for Xena as well. Pneumatized Carapace on the way, and the lair. So Xena's definitely going to have the economy to potentially deal with this Tempest rush, but whether it will have the chops or not is a different question. Another scouting probe goes out for Zozo, And then there's the tag, Tempest 452. The day the world changed for Xena, the day that it had to take on a Tempest. And let's see, the Zergbot really is just macroing up here, going for a 5th base already, which is just ridiculously greedy. Zozo, on the other hand, does have its 3rd base just going up. And yeah, it looks like these probes are just scouting out. Very methodical, the way that it goes about it. But yeah, then it's going to run on in. Looks like it will be caught by all these lings. We've got a spore crawler, multiple spores on the way for Xena. So playing it safe. Creep is also spreading all over the place. Something that Xena does that's very cool is using these overlords to actually allow that creep spread to go as quickly and as far as possible. I'm not sure, it doesn't affect the speed because there's still the cooldown on the tumors, but I believe that it does allow the tumors to spread a little bit further than because the creep takes longer to expand. So these overlords, Poop and Creep, is actually very, very beneficial for Xena, allowing it to have absolute maximum coverage. The Zerg bot is now getting out a Hydra Den, many, many more drones on the way. And yeah, this is a very bizarre Tempest rush from Zozo as well. It's not really a rush, it's just building Tempest off of one base. Looks like another probe is moving on out for Zozo that may regret its decision, as lings do come on in to pick that off. And then Zozo does have a 3rd Tempest out. That 3rd base is getting saturated, but man, oh man, Xena is already on 88 drones. That is a ridiculous amount. Hydras are being produced, queens are being produced en masse, 5 of them at a time. And then just 1/1 upgrades coming on out. I'm worried actually a little bit for Zozo that in a couple minutes here, it could definitely be outgunned, as the Zerg is just going to have a phenomenal amount of supply against this. Now, Zozo does poke out a little bit, but then it elects to fall back. This Nexus at the 4th base location is being established, but it does go to show how difficult it can be to expand against these Zerg bots, as like Xena's already got well over half the map covered in creep. More and more lings are being produced. There is just 1 more Hydra on the way, so I'm not sure Xena has fully realized it is up against Tempest. There's one that's definitely gets seen. And Infestation Pit's on the way, +2 attacks on the way, Groove Spine's on the way. Although presently it is just 11 Hydras, 10 Queens, so the anti-air may be lacking a little bit. We'll see. Not that Tempest are the fastest firing units in the world. Xena, bugging out a little bit, has a immense hatred for rocks, and does lose some of its units just attacking into those, so that's a bit of a mistake. So the Zerg bot does need to be careful. I mean, give it another couple minutes and it will have 200 supply. Who knows, maybe throwing away those lings was a blessing, because now it will have more supply to build Hydras and the likes. Lings, meanwhile, are going for a bit of a counter or some harassment. However, they do just run right into the army of Zozo. Zozo's got a very significant ball of stalkers just backed up here by these Tempest. The Zerg, though, is going into 2/2 upgrades. It's getting up Neural Parasite. And yeah, that just means like Xena is maxed out presently against its opponent, and looks like it's going to take a fight. Just the Hydras moving forward, Roaches in the back. Xena does need to be careful, though, as it definitely needs these Hydras alive, and it did just bleed off quite a few of them, forming a beautiful line of these Roaches and Hydras. Now going to dive forward, getting on top of a good number of these Stalkers. Fungal Growths are being tossed out. One Infestor, though, does run to its death, unfortunately, as more of this Zerg army moves forward. However, Queens can also transfuse to keep some of these units alive. Zozo has phenomenal micro, though, as it does pull these Stalkers back, attempting to keep them as alive as well as possible. The Prism is working overtime, juggling those units, and what an engagement this is, as Xena moves forward. Once again, a fair few of those Stalkers do go down. However, there's 5 Tempest out, 2 more being added at a time, which could be problematic for Xena, as the Zerg bot is still just about maxed out. Couple Hydras almost kill off a Tempest, so that could have been a big pick-off. Meanwhile, more Hydras are being produced, more Queens, and even Vipers getting added into the mix as Xena rounds out its composition. 2/2 upgrades are just about done for the Zerg, so that's going to make this army even more lethal. But the Tempest still pose a bit of a problem. There's only 9 Hydralisk scouts, 7 Queens. Xena needs all of its supply here now, basically. Another fungal growth goes down, but it doesn't really kill anything. I mean, fungal isn't the best against Protoss. Now, this Viper's building up energy. That's a pretty good fungal there, as we do see those Stalkers get caught once again, but Xena is really being bullied back. Another fungal going down, and another one. Viper moves forward. It's going to abduct the Prism. Neural parasites the Prism. That's actually a big deal, because now these Stalkers, they will not be getting juggled back. However, overall, the supply for Xena really is falling here, as Zozo just goes for a great push, and it really has been picking off so many Zerg units. I mean, 27 Stalkers have died, but 52 Hydras have died in total, and it looks like Xena may just be collapsing here under the pressure of Zozo, as the army positioning just wasn't quite good enough. The odd fungal growth isn't enough to kill off all these Stalkers, and yeah, Xena going to at least lose this base, if not lose the game. Zozo cleaning out this location. Xena really needs to group up its army, and its composition might just not be what it needs against Mass Tempest Stalker, at least under Zozo's control. Zozo's push was very, very good, the way that it just sort of held that position, abused the Tempest, and Tempest are something that's very difficult to program against for bots. We do have Blink on the way now for the Stalkers as well, but it just seems that Xena will no longer have the stuff that it needs. Despite having good upgrades, it did not have it wasn't able to take the trade that it needed to. Like 20,000 resources lost to 4,600. Too many Hydras died there. And yeah, I mean, Tempest are very difficult to take on. That's why we usually see Corruptors to do it. And as they really are the only answer, I think. And that is something that Xena's Zerg macro does lack. It doesn't usually build Corruptors in the late game. And that definitely bites it a little bit at times. And yeah, just really well done by Zozo. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to stay tuned as we'll watch all these bases get cleaned on up, and then we'll go ahead and load into that micro battle. A mothership is even on the way for Zozo, so there's the icing on the cake, the crown jewel. And yeah, really, really well done by Zozo. I'd be interested to see how this kind of strategy works against other Zerg bots, because like we've seen Tempest rushes before, but I'm not sure we've really seen Zozo just build up like a few Tempest and attack like that. But it definitely worked out. Stalker's now blinking all over the place. Xena is at its end, unfortunately. Few units gonna try and make a stand, but it shall not happen. Neural parasites on the Tempest are quite cool, but everything does go down. Oh, we've got no buildings left. Oh, there's buildings building. So that's why Xena is not dead just yet. It does actually still have 15 drones alive somehow. But that hatchery will go down. Cool redundancy by Xena, the fact that it does try and rebuild. GG. All right, now we have got this micro going on. It is Sharkles versus Sharpie. Two bots that both start with S, and man, oh man, Sharkles is being aggressive here against Sharpie, and it seems to be working, just diving forward. And yeah, that is a clear win for round one for Sharkles. As Sharpie moves forward, Sharkles forms up in a line, fires its first shot, and then yeah, it just steps forward. So making really, really good use of the minimum shot recharge time on the Stalkers. Like, those Stalkers are not moving if they could be shooting, it seems. Weapon speed of 1.34. So that is good. Sometimes bots do shoot themselves in the foot by over retreating or moving when they should just be fighting. Adepts versus probes and adepts, a very interesting PvP battle. A lot of micro potential here. You do want to target fire down the opponent's adepts. That's the main source of damage, but Sharpie is losing out as it just doesn't have the numbers here. And yeah, you really want to target your opponent's adepts in this case. as Sharkles is just crushing here right now. As Probes and Adepts taking on Probes and Adepts. Yeah, look at that. Sharpie Micro, it's just retreating and not quite firing as much as it could be in this situation. It does actually pick off one Adept for starters, though. That's actually nice, but then it loses one of its own. And the Probes are actually pulling off the Citizen's Arrest, so there was more potential there for Sharpie, but yeah, in the end, Sharkles does indeed take it. Aggression really is the way to go in a lot of these bot battles. Now we've got Stalkers and Zealots against Stalkers and Zealots, as the Zealots are buffering that injured Stalker of Sharpie, just falling back a little bit too much. It's definitely afraid to be finished off, and that is going to leave its teammates a little bit high and dry, as, yeah, Sharkles is just dominating for this one. Holy cow. As it's going to be 5-0 in this micro battle. Once again, Zealots and Stalkers against Zealots and Stalkers. Sharpie with one Stalker in the front, taking way too much damage at the start. The Zealots are actually doing okay for Sharpie Micro. It's getting off a decent number of shots. It's now 4 versus 4, 4v3. So this one's looking a little bit closer. Injured Stalker in the back for Sharkles is doing a really good job keeping it alive, pulling it away from the danger. It's currently now 3v2. They're so injured on the side of Sharkles, and now it's, oh, just barely a win for Sharkles, as Sharpie unfortunately falls under the pressure. Stalkers leading the charge for Sharpie. Adept shading all over the place as Sharpie Micro is pulling back, but that's kind of leaving its Zealots to soak a lot more damage than they should. The Adepts are now taking on the Adepts, as Stalkers in the back just getting lots of shots off. The unit count ain't looking that hot, though, for Sharpie Micro, as it looks like Sharkles will take yet another one. What an absolute beast Sharkles is, as the micro ladder is definitely fairly competitive. It's a great sort of proof of concept if you program some cool micro into your bot. It's like, well, how effective is what I've programmed actually? And this definitely is a great way to test that. Sharkles doing a great job once again. Adepts are buffering on both sides, tossing out shades all over the place. But yeah, Sharkles' aggressive style really is just looking phenomenal here. So far, Sharpie has almost won a round, but other than that, it's been quite the domination. Okay, now we've got Blink Micro. This is a good test for both of these bots. Sharkles forms up a nice line. Sharpie is retreating against its opponent, but the target fire of Sharkles really is phenomenal. Going for the injured Stalker in the back, blinking away its own injured units. It's 9v7, 8v6, as Sharpie is in a corner. There's quite a few injured ones for Sharkles, and that's the thing about Blink Stalker Micro. When you run out of units, you really run out of units, but in the end, there's still more than enough here for Sharkles to win that one. It's now the last round. We'll see, can Sharpie pull out a victory in the final battle, as its Stalkers are just blinking all over the place. Seems more moving than shooting for Sharpie, although the concave is quite nice in this situation, really minimizing the damage on individual Stalkers, as Sharkles is very, very in the red this time, and I think we may have Sharpie winning the final round, and it does. Sharpie at least finishing strong. Ladies and gentlemen, if you watched to this point, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, which is linked down below as well. And if you do want to support the channel, check out that YouTube membership button. Join just right by the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time.